Hello again, I'm Robert Fitton, continuing the deep dive through 1983 with album reviews of just about every album that came out in 1983, at least the ones that looked interesting enough to listen to. I did skip a few, and I also skipped live albums, compilations, soundtracks, EPs, jazz albums, and country albums, but pretty much everything else was fair game. Here we are in November of 1983, and it's time to talk about the band from Derbyshire, England, called Witchfynde. F-Y-N-D-E, so I'm assuming that's Witchfynde. Maybe it's Witchfynde. Their album is called Cloak and Dagger. It's their third album. These guys have been rocking out since the 70s, not releasing albums since the 70s, but they've been together, going through various different styles and what everything. And 1983 finds them sort of a satanic heavy metal / hard rock band with the album Cloak and Dagger with that wonderful cover art. The very first track, The Devil's Playground, sets what is hopefully the stage. It starts off with this thunder and this screeching, and you're like, all right, here we go. Nice. Crank it up. Devil's Playground. The vocalist has this sort of mid-range kind of thing he keeps himself in, and then suddenly it just spikes out of nowhere, seemingly randomly, into that falsetto. So we're singing along like this! You know, it's that kind of thing. And it's fun. I've always said, if you're going to do satanic metal and satanic, whatever, movies even, they've got to be fun. Especially in the 90s. Some of these bands taking themselves way too seriously, and I think that there's no point after you get to that. I mean, if you're going to be talking about conjuring up demons and possession and pentagrams in the floor, I mean, you can't, how do you take that serious? But some of these bands do, and then that leads to people doing evil things. And so not into this one, obviously for fun. And that's the kind of stuff that I would want to listen to if I'm listening to some sort of devilish rock music. Unfortunately, The Devil's Playground, or Mr. D, as he's called in the song, kind of dancing with Mr. D, Rolling Stones, I guess. But anyway, that's the only song like that. It pretty much starts, it starts here with the crazy satanic screaming and the, Devil's Playground. And the next track, Crystal Gazing, it's a little mysterious. It's, it's about gazing into crystals, little down here. And then, we go like this as the album goes on. Towards the end of the album, there's a song called Rock and Roll. That's just about living that rock and roll lifestyle, going backstage and all that kind of stuff. So, they've totally gone pretty much mainstream rock by the end of the album. The track Somewhere to Hide, talking actually about running from the devil. So, we are completely abandoning, the poor devil has been completely abandoned at this point. And by the time you get to the title track, it's kind of like just a mid-level rock album. The effects are gone. There's no more screeching and thunder and devil music or whatever. And with that kind of cover art, I mean, it doesn't need that kind of cover art. Halfway through the album, it's just a basic rock album. The song "Cry Wolf" does what's got to be the 50th different rock version of "In the Hall of the Mountain King." The classical music piece that's been interpreted as a rock song many, many, many different times at this point. And by the end of the album, it's kind of like, all right, this is a basic rock album. So I'm going to give this 3 stars, 5 stars for that album cover, but 3 stars for the album overall. The singer is okay. He's not really he does sound like he's trying to imitate Rob Halford in a couple of tracks towards the center of the album. But the middle of the album, I guess it doesn't have a center. Center would be the label if you're talking about the record. But if you're streaming it, it would be the center. But so yeah, mid. I wish everything was kind of more like the first track. Having a little more fun with the devil stuff. But they kind of abandoned that by track 4. So yeah, it becomes like a mid-level hard rock album. Not anything great. There's some nice bass grooves and a few nice guitar licks, but nothing to get it above, 3 stars, because I've discovered with some of this lesser known metal stuff, there's so much better to listen to first before you get to this one from the year 1983. On November 18th, 1983, we get some punk rock from London with the band Sparrer, and their album's called Shock Troops. Cock sparring, is that where, like you and another guy, you take your cocks and you beat each other's... I think that's called sword fighting in the U.S., but apparently in England it's cock sparring. Or is that just like a chicken fight? Because I think the cock actual, is more fun than watching two chickens. That's just terrible to watch two chickens tear each other up. Let's stick to the... Anyway, this is punk rock with a little bit of polish on it. It's not exactly, extreme or anything. It's not like the super fast, speedy stuff. It's not like the extreme, dangerous, violent stuff. Well, there is one kind of violent song in here where they're putting guys against the wall and shooting them. I think it's record execs that they want to do that too. But other than that, this is a really fun album. Like I said, it's got a little bit of polish on it, but it's not exactly that annoying punk pop stuff that comes out in like the late 90s that I every time I do a punk video, I like contrast it with, it's not Blink-182. Don't worry, it's okay. And this certainly is that, but it does have a little bit of sheen on it. But it's great. The first song, Where Are They Now? About these people that you listen to and you, I guess maybe mentors or whatever that, now they've all gone away. They gave all this advice and they said to do this. This guy said to do that. This girl said to live your life like this, and now they're just gone. When I first heard this, I thought maybe they were talking about like actual people, like maybe European politicians that I didn't know about or something. But I think it's just various names or whatever. After that, you got Riot Squad, all about this badass punk guy that broke all the rules and did his own thing and didn't give a fuck, and now he's joined the police now. So yeah, that happens. But yeah, so he's joined the Riot Squad. I'm always working for my mate, and just working. These are like some working class punks. These Sparrer guys. They've actually been around, I guess, since the 70s, and only put out like an album that really didn't do anything. And when the punk thing caught on, they kind of went in that direction, and but they sound authentic. They don't sound like they're posers or anything like that. I enjoy this, whether they're doing more of the oi thing and they're like, the guys all singing, or they're just doing more of a power pop thing. They got some more of, just straightforward, like, they kind of lessen the punk stuff a little bit. Still sounds great, though. Tracks like I Got Your Number is pretty cool. They also, they have a song on here called We're Coming Back that has this vocal arrangement, sort of an effect, or like the way that the two guys are singing, or the guy's voice is double tracked or whatever. And when he sings, you'll never walk alone again, or something like that. It sounds just like the vocal part of another song, and I cannot think of what that song is. So if you listen to the song We're Coming Back, and you hear that, we'll never walk alone again. It sounds, the effect on that or whatever it is, sounds just like another song. I cannot place what that is. Droogs Don't Run. I'm assuming that's a Clockwork Orange thing, the Droogies. The Droogs Don't Run. Droogs Don't Run. The whole thing is just a whole lot of fun, really. A great album, really. 5 stars for the Sparrers and shock therapy. What's it called again? Shock treatment? Shock corridor? What? Shock troops. So yeah, 5 stars. I got to get this at one point. I think I kind of heard the name in my peripheral a couple of times over the years, but I didn't really know about them. I'm a little leery about a lot of punk bands because some of them aren't that great. It's just loud and fast, and that's as far as it goes. But these guys are fun. There's a little bit of melody here. Like I said, a little bit of variety, and I enjoyed it all the way through. I listened to it 3 times, and saved a bunch of songs on my, thumbed up a bunch of songs so they'll play all the time when I'm listening to random music. So I don't really do that anymore, though. I don't know when I'm gonna get back to just like listening to like the liked songs or whatever, but one day, yeah, Sparrer. On November 21st, 1983, the world was ready for a new album from Duran Duran, and they got it. It's called Seven and the Ragged Tiger, the 3rd album from these guys. I got this when it was pretty much new, probably the first maybe month or 2 that it was out. And this has 3 big songs on it that were all over the radio, all over MTV. The Reflex starts it off, but the Reflex on here does not sound like the one that's in the video or that was played on the radio. At least the radio stations I was listening to, they played the single version, which is this remix, which typical of early 80s, mid 80s remixes. It had the, reflex, flex, that kind of thing where they take words and chop them up and loop them and all that. It really got annoying. But Arthur Baker, big name doing that. But yeah, so that version is a little obviously more energetic. It has the whole thing is a remix sound to it. Little more lively. The one on here is a little more straightforward. but I do like the intro of the album version more than I do the single. New Moon on Monday was another single off of this. That's the second track on here. New Moon on Monday. I light my torch and wave it for the new moon on Monday. I remember the video for that song where they're in some sort of place where there's some political upheaval going on, and they're the rebels with the shooting off fireworks and scaring the horses that the Gestapo is riding on or whatever. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, Duran Duran made it happen in New Moon on Monday, and a fire dance through the night. Also, what else is on here? This I'm looking for cracks in the pavement. Something on my mind makes me run when I thought I'd run too far. Shadows are on your side as soon as the lights go down. So yeah, this is a fun album. I don't think it's on the level of Rio. I think that was their peak. That's a 5-star album. I would give this one 4 stars, basically. My favorite track off here is the one that is on the sticker here, Union of the Snake. Very lively. It even has a horn in it that I think goes well with it, so you know it's tops. But yeah, the Union of the Snake is on the climb. Absolute wonderful pop album. Very exciting. Definitely from the time. Great cover art there of the guys. Not so much looking like the romantic look anymore. They're all in black, suits and shiny leather thing going on here. This guy over here with the slick back hair. So yeah, Duran Duran keeping the energy up, keeping the momentum up with this release. I think they kind of the first one's okay. The first one's pretty good. The first one I think is a 4-star album. Rio is the top. This one is about here, and then they start doing this as far as Duran Duran records go, and then they make, of course, the big comeback in 1983 or 1993. This one is another one of those albums that I did the whole media tour on. I started off with the cassette, later on got the CD, got the album, so have it on all formats just in case. Yeah, Duran Duran 7 and the Ragged Tiger. I mean, you probably don't need me to talk anymore about this. You have heard the songs on it. You either love it or you hate it or you're indifferent. Kool and the Gang are back in 1983, releasing the album In the Heart on November 21st. You got JT and the gang, and featuring Kool, who's on bass. They're back, and I've always liked Kool and the Gang, but this is not exactly Jungle Boogie. This is not exactly Hollywood Swingin'. This is not exactly Ladies' Night. We are in the 80s now. They've kind of settled into kind of a mid-level, like, light pop groove, and for the most part, they just had a big hit with Celebration, right? And so, I think they're going for like more of a mainstream sound, trying to get full-on middle of the road on some of these tracks. But this does have a great song called Joanna, which was a single at the time. Used to watch the video for that. Love that video with the waitress, dreaming about her dancer days, and then she's dancing around in the end. But yeah, Joanna's great. My cat. I have a cat that really loves that song, apparently. The cat does not like to go to the vet at all. Like, hates it. The other cat, not keen on going to the vet. But this other cat that I'm talking about absolutely cannot stand, freaks the hell out every single time. It's been going on for decades. Cat's like 21 years old now. It's an old cat. So he's freaking out. And Joanna just happens to come on the ride there. And he just settles down for the whole song. Song ends, he starts freaking out again. So I don't know if it was the pop, 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 pop that they do or what it was. But he connected with that song. Joanna. But anyway, that's a cool song, and no pun intended. And then you got Tonight. Ooh, this is the night. You'll see the light tonight. It's his 16th birthday, and he's going to find out what love's really all about tonight. Pretty cool track as well. Again, mainstream kind of stuff. We're not getting ultra funky here. We're not getting down and dirty. We're not, lighting up the dance floor. We're coasting along at this point, but it's a nice coast, a breezy kind of tunes. Tune after that called Rollin'. It's okay, it's in the same vein. But the problem with this album is the problem with this album is side 2, where everything just sounds like it is just phoned in. There's this track towards the end called You Can Do It. Where it's this whole believe in yourself thing. It's supposed to be some sort of inspirational thing. You can make it happen. Just believe in yourself. This thing sounds like it was written in about a minute and a half. Just totally just thrown out. Talk about a throwaway track. This one, there's a couple other ballads on here that just sound like they're kind of really half-hearted at best. At this point in the 80s, Kool the Gang is a group that you need a compilation of. You need a greatest hits at this point. I don't think there's a lot of album tracks here that are just going to pop off and be like, wow, that should have been released as a single. Man, I bet that would have been killer. You know, if more people heard that. I did not hear any of that on this album. So overall, I'm giving this 3 stars. Like I said, I love the song Tonight. Always loved Joanna, but they are not enough to get this. That's why this is a 3-star album instead of a 2-star album, pretty much. Kool the Gang, In the Heart. You know, it closes with this September love song that just, I mean, it's not. It just brings this album to like just a nod off kind of ending, and it's like, okay. So yeah, get yourself a Kool the Gang greatest hits. All right, back to Germany to talk about the 1983 album from Einstürzende Neubauten. And it's called The Drawings of Patient OT. It's apparently inspired by an actual psychiatric patient. And if you're not familiar with Einstürzende Neubauten, they are a lot of just kind of noise and yelling and scraping and clanging and all that kind of thing. So it's not for everyone. But this album definitely features that. It starts off with this clang, 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 clang. It's called Vanadium Eiching, and the lyrics concern themselves with things like vultures and corpses, and the singer asking if you've seen these things. All kinds of wild. I mean, the lyrics in this, first of all, they're in German. So if you know some German, it's going to help. If not, it's just going to sound like, you know, somebody speaking German, and that's very intense, really. The second track is called Hospitalized Children, Hospitalised Kinder, which I didn't know that was Krankenhaus is the hospital. It's one of my favorite German words. Second only to Krankenwagen. I love that word. That's an ambulance, by the way. A sick car. But yeah, so you have a child here, and again, the clinking going on, and a child sounding like he might be just playing, or, you know, kind of playing by himself, and, you know, with airplanes or something, because he keeps going, but he's talking to himself about, you know, needle marks and things like that. Then when the vocalist finally comes in, a few lines in, he actually says something about seeing a $24 concert in Maryland Heights. I was listening to that, I'm like, whoa, did he just say Maryland Heights? Yeah, he said Maryland Heights. Maryland Heights is basically St. Louis. It's right outside of St. Louis. It's basically the town that's known for having what used to be called Riverport Amphitheater. It's the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Now it keeps going through all these name changes, but most of the people who live here still, after all these years, refer to it as Riverport Amphitheater. It's where Guns N' Roses had the big riot and just huge concerts come to Riverport, or I'm sorry, the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. But yeah, Maryland Heights, I mean, that's all it's known for. And he's seeing a $24 concert there, so it must not be a very big band. Of course, this is 1983, so but yeah, this would have been before Riverport. I don't know, is there another Maryland Heights somewhere that has a big concert venue? Is he literally talking about St. Louis? That blew my mind. But yeah, the album goes on, and with a lot of scraping and screaming and intense lyrics, and it's just way out. In fact, there's a song on here called Armenia that is nothing but just growling and hissing, basically. The dude actually starts hissing. So as the album plays on, I kind of start losing a little bit of focus, because a lot of the songs aren't that long. They're like 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. And so it doesn't really pull you into this kind of thing. As soon as you start getting into it, the track changes, and you do start getting kind of used to it, and if it doesn't pull you in, my mind started to kind of wander, actually. There is a track on here, the very final track, called Die genaue Zeit, the exact time, and that one actually is a little long. It's like 7 minutes long, and that one actually starts getting into like this groove, you know. It's like it's definitely their own groove, but that one kind of pulls you in. I just wish some of these other tracks were a little bit longer and there were fewer tracks. Usually when you have albums like this, where they're, you know, sort of an avant-garde type of thing, and they've got their own sounds and glass shattering and scraping and clanging and whatever, it takes you a while to like, oh yeah, and then your mind starts wrapping around it and whatever, and the songs are longer, and it, you know, it pulls you in. This one, it doesn't quite do that as much. So I'm definitely more, I get it's kind of a throwback to more of the stuff that I like from the early 70s, the Way Out stuff. You know, Brain Ticket and things like that come to mind. But those, again, those songs are longer and kind of, you kind of go into this tramp. This, did I say tramp? I meant trance. This, it doesn't quite do that as much. I can see some potential here, and I'm going to check out some of their later albums. But this one, it just kind of breaks away too quickly, and it's a lot of the similar type of stuff. But I can't appreciate it. I'm going to give it 3 stars with a little note to check out some later stuff from the group. But yeah, this one was interesting, but didn't pull me all the way in. Einstürzende Neubauten, falling down new buildings. That's what the name means. And the Drawings of Patient O.T. On November 22nd, a tour de force was released. Because that's the name of the 38 special album that came out on that date, Tour de Force. This is, I wouldn't call this a tour de force. I would call this a decent 38 special album filled with one great song, a pretty good one, and a lot of okay ones. That's what I would call this. The great one is one of my favorite 38 special songs of all time. It's the very first song on here called If I'd Been the One. I love the music of that, the melody, the whole feel of that song. And I've always loved Don Barnes' vocals. I think that he is one of the more underrated vocalists in rock music. Nobody really talks about him, but I think he's got a great voice. Really shines on that song. And that was one of the big singles on here. There were 2. The other one is Back Where You Belong, which follows that on the album. That's a pretty good one, you know, apologizing, and I know I was wrong. I want you back where you belong. You obviously, you know, you belong with me. Come on back, baby. A heart needs a second chance. I don't say it's over. Oh wait, that's a different 38 special song. But my point here is that a lot of these have the same theme going on here. There's a woman. She is somehow out of reach, and he would like to reach her. The theme goes on and on, song after song after song. Come on back one more time for old time's sake. Can't we make it happen again like we did before? After that, come on back. I want to see me in your eyes. When I look in your eyes, I want to see me. Baby, come on back. You know, come on. I want you back where you belong. That's side 1. You know, variations on, instead of calling this Tour de Force, they should have called it Variations on a Theme, because that's what this is. Now, I know there's a lot of rock songs, you know, and a lot of songs in general about breakups and wanting your baby back, baby back, baby back. But these guys, I mean, they could have put one song on here about something else, but they decided not to do that. She's a 20th Century Fox. No, it is not a cover of the Doors song. She's a 20th. He says she's a 20th Century Fox. That kicks off side 2. And then you've got basically a lot more of the, you know, my girl's not here, I wish my girl was, come on back, baby, songs, and the undercover lover, now we're sneaking around, you know, baby, you know, one of the lonely ones. And then you got this song on here called I Oughta Let Go, where, you know, he's got the girl, but she's just doing him wrong, and he had any smarts, he ought to, you know, he ought to be kicked in the ass for being so stupid. He ought to just let her go. Problem with that song is it's 38 special, changing their sound a little bit, trying to do a little bit of a yacht rock thing, a little bouncy pop number, and it does not work for them at all. That's like the worst song on here. The rest of this stuff plays pretty well. I mean, it's a pretty decent album all the way through. It's just that I wish they would come up with some different ideas lyrically. That's the one thing that kind of brings this album down, is every song is about pretty much the same thing. Although it does have If I'd Been the One on there. And again, that's the same theme, but at least that's the first song you hear, so you haven't heard all those others yet. That's a great song. 38 Special Tour de Force. Overall, I will give this 3 stars. It would really be more like 3.5, but, you know, 3 stars for 38 Special. And, you know, they're one of those bands, like I'm finding a lot of these 1983 bands that had albums out then. You probably just need the greatest hits and maybe one album, like Wild Eyed Southern Boys or something like that. But yeah, 38 Special. Again, Don Barnes, incredible vocalist. Had to make sure I had my Atari shirt on because I'm ready to talk about an album called Joystick with a song called Joystick. It's from the Dazz band, and they definitely have better songs and better albums. This falls into the typical 1983 electro-funk type of thing. And, you know, like I've said a few times when reviewing albums like this, it's slim pickings at this point to find some real funky stuff you can get into, burn up the dance floor. It's just, this is more that cold funk that just doesn't have that grit, that doesn't have that down and dirty and funky and just goddamn, just gets in you and just makes you want to move. This is more like the, you know, again, you just want to do the robot, you know. Joystick is probably one of the more interesting songs on here. It was the big single. I remember it getting played, and you know, it's exactly what you think. It's his cock, you know, and it's a joystick, and you can play me like a video game. Just, you know, take control of the joystick and move the joystick and take my joystick or whatever. Joystick, joystick. So, you know, I think as you know, obvious as that is, they could have had a little more fun with it. They could have been a little more playful with it. They could have taken it a little further lyrically than just kind of having that basic concept, doing a couple of lines, and then just repeating them over and over again. The first track on here, To the Roof, is basically an instrumental because all it says on it is To the Roof. But it's okay, kind of funky, electronic funk kind of stuff. It's just kind of average. They got a decent ballad on here called Until You. I mean, I think one of the best track on here is the one right after Joystick called Swoop, I'm Yours. But even that's like, you know, this is all right, this is okay, and that's really as good as it gets. So I'm going to give this 2 stars because the Dazz band has so much better. And this is just kind of like, you know, with the Joystick song, it's kind of a missed opportunity. With most of the album, it's just kind of flat, you know, it's just kind of the very typical stuff. There's much better available if you want some 1983 electro funk. And this just didn't move me. I wasn't moved by this. I didn't want to break out and throw the cardboard down on the ground and start breakdancing. So, yeah, no, not too much. When you hear a lot of this kind of stuff, it's really easy to see why hip-hop and rap music, as it was called at the time, would come in and really start to really take over, because this kind of stuff is getting really generic and just really kind of, you know, kind of spiceless, basically. So, yeah. Dazz band, 2 stars for Joystick, do, Joystick, do. It's his cock. All right, so let's wrap up this video with a band from Australia called the Triffids. And their album is called Treeless Plain. And yeah, I was not familiar with these guys at all. I did not even come across them when doing my 3-part Australian music video series that I did way back. So these guys are very new to me, even though they were obviously out in 1983. That's when their debut album came out. And that's the one I'm talking about. And these guys have a lighter sound. It's not the bar rock or the, you know, the hard rock stuff, you know, that you get sometimes from Australia that's really great. This is more of an alternative rock kind of thing, more of a leaning towards pop, but it's still really interesting. A lot of different sounds on this. And you can definitely tell that this is not your typical US alt-rock type thing. The first song, Red Pony, has a lot of lush strings in it, and they have their own violin player in the band. It's not like somebody that they just hired out or a sound they just threw on a couple of songs. It runs throughout a lot of these songs. But this one, it's like, you know, it swells into the song. So interesting way to start that off with, you know, the guy's going to buy you a red pony. It's like, okay. Hope the person he's buying it for actually wants a red pony and has room for a red pony. These guys got their start in Perth, is what I meant to say, and then you know, then they got their professional beginnings. Went all the way over to Sydney to do that. So they've encompassed quite a road trip. That's probably why their album is called Treeless Plain. But so yeah. They've been around a while before they released their first album, so they've already got the chops. They're already playing really nice and tight. And the mix on this is interesting. There's a lot of different elements and different songs. They go in a few different places, so it never gets old, even though there's 12 songs on here for the debut. It's got quite a varied sound. And they have in the mix, the bass is really up front. So you can hear a lot of great bass runs in these songs, if that's what you're into. It's not like show-off type bass or slapping bass, or the bass is one of the main interests. It's just pushed up in the mix. So if that's what you like, definitely check this out. Other tracks on here include Roosevelt, where, you know, he's leaving the girlfriend or whatever, and he had to do it. He warned her he was going to cut away the deadwood. Apparently she's the deadwood. Another track on here called My Baby Thinks She's a Train, which I don't know if they got that title from Roseanne Cash, but it's, you know, my baby thinks he's a train. This is a completely different song, but it shares sort of that title. So that's quite a unique thing to have as a song title, to not hear the earlier Roseanne Cash song and be like, well, maybe our own song based on that. But that's on here. Tracks on here about, you know, breakups and the typical romance stuff, but they go beyond that lyrically too. There's one funny one on here about love that's like, you know, love doesn't mean anything unless it's for a dog or a cat. That's the only real love that exists, when you love your dog or your cat. And then it says, well, because you can argue with your dog or tell your dog all your troubles and the dog's never going to really respond. He just listens. Well, that's kind of a selfish love, really. But so this is interesting. The vocalist is not my favorite. He takes a little getting used to. He sings in this very stiff kind of sound down here, and it's a little stiff, but once you get used to it and then you listen to the album again, knowing kind of what you're expecting, it's a little better of a listen. So I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 stars. I'm interested to see where they go from this. I don't know how popular the Triffids are in Australia. I know that they don't have any kind of US release on this album until just last year, when it had a worldwide release on white vinyl. So you can finally get this album in the US without paying some sort of import, you know, shipping fees or whatever, if you're interested. So that just happened for the first time last year, though. So maybe there was a resurgence in popularity. Again, I don't know how popular they were in the beginning, but or how long they went on after this album, but I'd be interested in hearing more from these guys. The Triffids, and reminds me of this, I don't know, I've never heard of a Triffid other than Day of the Triffids, the horror sci-fi movie from the 50s, and then of course that's mentioned in the opening song from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Those are only 2 times I've ever heard of the Triffids, so now I've heard of a Triffid 3 times, thanks to this band. And that's going to wrap it up for this part of the series, this particular video, as we continue November 1983 and wrap that month up in the next one, where I'll talk about albums from Nina Hagen, Reflex, Patti LaBelle, Slade, and more. So hopefully you will join me for that. Thanks again for joining me for this journey. We're almost there. Just a month and a week and a half left, and we will put the wraps on the entire year from 1983. And if you've watched all these videos, then you can walk away saying, you know, I got a really, really good grasp of the music of 1983. Hopefully much more than you had originally. I know that I do. I you know, like I was saying in previous videos, 1983 is when I really dove into current hit top 40 music when I was 10 years old, turning 11. And I thought I knew a lot about 1983, and doing this video series has exposed me to so much more. So hopefully you got something out of that as well. I'm Robert Fitton, and I will talk to you again next time.